A thin trail of white powder lies across the wooden table, not enough to alarm anyone unless you know its story. Because that tiny, unassuming line contains one of the most extraordinary tales in human history, one that stretches from ancient empires to modern battlefields, from mystical rituals to billion-dollar criminal syndicates. Few substances have ever shaped the world the way cocaine has, and even fewer have carried such a strange blend of myth, medicine, wealth, violence, and devastation. For thousands of years, long before the word cocaine existed, the Andean people already understood the quiet power of the coca leaf. At altitudes where the air felt thin and the mountains punished every step, coca gave strength. Chewed slowly with a pinch of alkaline ash, the bitter leaves numbed the mouth and eased hunger. They sharpened the senses and made harsh winds feel just a little kinder. To the Inca, coca wasn't a vice, it was a gift from the gods, entrusted to priests, travelers, and workers shaping stones the size of small houses. And then came the moment that would change everything, the Spanish conquest. The conquistadors initially banned coca use, calling it the leaf of the devil. But soon they noticed something inconvenient enslaved. Indigenous workers toiled longer and survived the brutal mines better when chewing coca. Moral objections collapsed instantly. The colonizers began taxing the leaf, commercializing it, and embedding it into the machinery of empire. It wouldn't be the last time cocaine's story followed that pattern. Rejection, reconsideration, exploitation. Centuries passed before a new cast of characters entered this ancient tale. European chemists, fascinated by the secrets hidden inside plants. In 1859, a German named Albert Niemann isolated a shimmering crystalline alkaloid. He named it cocaine. When he accidentally rubbed it on his tongue, his mouth went numb. He had no idea he just opened the door to a global obsession. Soon, scientists and doctors across Europe were enthralled. Among them was a young, ambitious neurologist named Sigmund Freud. To Freud, cocaine was a miracle. In the 1880s, he wrote glowing essays calling it a magical substance, praising its ability to treat depression, addiction, even indigestion. He recommended it to patients, friends, and even his fiancée. Freud later regretted this enthusiasm deeply, but the damage was done. Cocaine was celebrated as a modern elixir, a scientific marvel. At the same time, another doctor, Carl Koller, discovered that cocaine numbed the eye, revolutionizing ophthalmic surgery. Surgeons could operate without causing unbearable pain. For a brief dazzling moment, this powder seemed like the future. And then came the flood. Cocaine began slipping quietly into everyday life. Vin Mariani, a popular French wine infused with coca leaves, became a sensation. Thomas Edison loved it. Pope Leo XIII gave it a medal. And across the Atlantic, an American pharmacist named John Pemberton experimented with a coca-infused tonic to soothe pain and rejuvenate the body. Over time, his recipe evolved into one of the most recognizable beverages on Earth, Coca-Cola. Yes, early Coca-Cola actually contained cocaine only a small amount, but enough to give it an undeniable kick. The cocaine was removed in the early 20th century, but the association stuck forever. Yet, as quickly as cocaine rose, its dark side emerged. Stories surfaced of dependence, erratic behavior, and addiction. What once felt miraculous now felt dangerous. In 1914, the U.S. passed the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act, effectively criminalizing cocaine outside of strict medical uses. The glamorous age of cocaine tonics and miracle wines was over. Or so people thought, because prohibition didn't kill cocaine, it transformed it. As legal avenues closed, illegal opportunities opened. Throughout the mid-20th century, cocaine resurfaced quietly in nightclubs, jazz bars, and high society gatherings. But the real explosion came later, and it hit like a hurricane. In the 1970s, the global drug trade underwent a seismic shift. Coca cultivation expanded in Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. Traffickers realized cocaine was compact, profitable, and addictive enough to build empires upon. Small smuggling operations evolved into powerful cartels. Among them was a man whose name became synonymous with cocaine itself, Pablo Escobar. Escobar's Medellin cartel didn't just traffic drugs, it industrialized them. Cocaine labs operated deep in the jungle, guarded by armed militias. Planes disguised as crop dusters slipped across borders loaded with bricks of powder. Entire neighborhoods grew rich overnight, while others were torn apart by violence. Escobar bribed, threatened, kidnapped, bombed, and assassinated. At his peak, he was one of the wealthiest men alive, earning so much that his accountants wrote off millions of dollars a year as rat damage because the rodents were eating the cash in storage warehouses. But cocaine didn't just devastate Colombia. It transformed cities across the United States. In the 1980s, demand skyrocketed. Wall Street traders used it to work longer hours. Musicians praised it in lyrics. Hollywood glamorized it with neon lights and silver trays. Cocaine became the drug of ambition until it mutated into something far deadlier. A cheaper, smokable version called crack hit the streets. And when it did, it ignited a public health crisis. Entire neighborhoods were swallowed by addiction. The U.S. government responded with harsh laws that disproportionately targeted Black and Latino communities. Crime rose. Fear spread. Families broke apart. And in the shadows of this chaos, traffickers made fortunes. Meanwhile, back in South America, the cartel's internal wars reached catastrophic levels. The Medellin cartel fell after Escobar's death in 1993, but others rose to take its place. The Cali cartel, Mexican trafficking groups, and later the Sinaloa cartel under Joaquin El Chapo Guzman expanded the trade with staggering efficiency. Cocaine moved across borders via tunnels, submarines, cargo ships, even human couriers who risked their lives swallowing capsules of powder. Every crackdown only forced the trade to evolve in more inventive, ruthless ways. Yet, amid the violence, another lesser-known story unfolded: the struggle of indigenous farmers. For many Andean communities, coca isn't a drug, it's a traditional crop, a cornerstone of cultural identity. When governments launched eradication campaigns, entire villages lost their livelihoods. Some farmers complied. Others were driven into the arms of traffickers, who offered protection and payment. This tug-of-war over a simple leaf became a symbol of global politics, where ancient traditions collided with international laws and the economics of desperation. And still, the demand for cocaine never disappeared. In fact, it surged. By the early 21st century, Europe's consumption rivaled America's. New supply routes through West Africa turned coastal towns into trafficking hubs. Coca cultivation, after brief declines, rose again. The war on drugs seemed endless, fought on farmlands, in city streets, in courtrooms, and in the quiet moments when someone decided whether to take their first hit. Today, cocaine continues to shape governments, economies, and lives. It funds armed groups, it destabilizes regions, it fills prisons, and it appears at glamorous parties where few stop to consider the human cost behind the tiny lines on a polished mirror. Yet the story isn't just about crime or chemistry. It is about the strange power of a plant that once soothed weary travelers in the mountains and now fuels one of the most complex illegal industries on Earth. It's about how societies swing between fascination and fear, between celebrating a substance and condemning it. Cocaine's history is a mirror revealing what happens when human desire, ambition, and desperation converge around something deceptively small. And in the end, that trail of powder on the table doesn't look so simple anymore. It's a relic of ancient rituals, a remnant of medical breakthroughs, a symbol of glamour, a weapon of terror, and a reminder that history often hides in the most unexpected places, sometimes in the shape of a grain so tiny yet powerful enough to rewrite the world.